Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. Welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, B. Chow. Today, we're talking about something that the industry really needs, something the industry has done for a long time. But if you don't know about it, we wanted to bring it to you. So here's the deal. The LegCon, I got Charles Smitherman here. He knows all about it. LegCon. It's a legal conference that goes on in Washington, D.C. every single year. And Charles Smitherman, now leading as the CEO of APRO, pushing this forward. We've had some really good attendees, Charles, the last couple of years. But we were in the 70s. Now we made it to 88 is what I was reading. I got a bunch of notes up here. We actually did a really good job as far as getting some new people out here with some new programs that we have. But am I right in saying this is the 31st LegCon conference?
That's right. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. We took a couple of years off during COVID. Not necessarily by choice. And so this is really the third of the post-COVID era. We're growing it back steadily from that. So yeah, like you said, 88 this year. That was up from, I believe, 78 last year. So we're trending in that right direction, trying to get to 100. I think that's our goal for next year. So we're going to try to do some things to make sure it happens too.
Triple digits. We're trying to make some triple digits. You know what? I definitely think we can do it. I wanted to do this because I think, every year we do the APRO series on the RTO world and how everybody comes together. And not only are there learning experiences, but it's a great shopping experience. The guys come in, all the vendors are there. You have Trib as part of that. And then, well, I'm on the membership committee. I said, we've got to bring awareness to this because this is just as important, if not more important, because at a certain point in time, there could be something that happens. And This is where APRO really kind of shines. This is the legal point of where it goes, hey, not only do we not have any issues right now, so this is probably the best time to present ourselves in front of everybody that we can. And if anybody doesn't know, the way the legal conference, LegCon works is that somebody, and I'm going to let you describe this a little bit better, somebody at APRO kind of gets everybody together. So all the members that want to go that are a part of APRO get together, and then somebody kind of mashes it all together, puts us in our right states, puts us with our right legislators so that we can be in front of the right people and tell them all the benefits of what rent-to-own does, how we do it, how we affect the lives of the people that are our customers, really the people that make this industry the best that it can be, aside the employees, and how we really don't have any issues right now. We're pretty much governed the right way, right? We don't really have any issues. Charles, how does that work? How does this whole salad of, you got 88 people this year, they're coming from all over, the U.S. Like, how do you get these people to be in the right place at the right time all over again? There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot. It's a balancing act. It's a huge puzzle to put together. And like you said, I mean, this and RTO World are the two most important events for us of the calendar. And they represent the two sides of our mission at APRO, that being to protect and safeguard the industry, which is what the advocacy portion does. and then to educate and to bring people together to allow those networking opportunities, which is what we do at RTO World. So it's a big event, and I think we apply the appropriate focus, the resources that go into doing this. It starts now. We're already looking for hotels, trying to get things set up for next year, and that and then trying to do things like this to just generate the raise the level of awareness and the importance of what that we do up here. In terms of the process, we can accommodate 200 if we need to. And so what we do is we really look at what we get to a point, we look at who is registered. We look at where everyone lives. We look at where our dealers have, where they're headquartered, where that they have, what districts they have stores in. And we kind of take that huge puzzle and start breaking it down into pieces. And then we will set up teams. We typically like to do teams of anywhere from 4 or 6, even upwards of 7 or 8. And then we'll separate people into teams. So you're not on your own. If you haven't done this before, or you don't feel comfortable, going into these offices and doing this by yourself, you've got plenty of people there to help and support and to have those conversations. But it's a puzzle. We've got, fortunately, I brag about our staff all the time, and we've got just some great minds that help do this, particularly Lisa Krabinoff, who just is if you want someone to put a puzzle together, she's got that analytical mindset and the patience and the I guess that drive to be able to do it. So she's taken this on for us for the past 2 years, and I think if you speak to anyone that's been either of those 2 years, that can tell you. We do this big thing at the end where we kind of talk about, we do a debrief dinner. And one thing that came up this year, I think you may have even brought it up, was like, what was your step count? And,
that was part of what I was going to say, because, and then there were so many people that put in so many steps. Oh my God, it was wild.
Well, if you've never been to DC, the campus is huge. And you've got the Senate on the north side, you've got the House on the south side. So you've got 100 offices in the Senate, you've got 435 in the House, spread out over 3 buildings. There are tunnels that run underground to each of them, and multi-floors, multi-sets of stairs going up. And it's one of those, if you did not know what you were doing or didn't do this right, and you would be a meeting in the House and a meeting in the Senate, meeting in the House, meeting in the Senate, you could easily get 30,000 steps in a day.
Yes.
Just going back and forth.
Yes.
What Lisa does is we've been trying to get a hotel. We're going to try for next year to get one over on the Senate side, where we can walk straight to the Senate buildings. All teams can start their Senate meetings in the morning, then go out, walk across the campus, go in and do the House meetings in the afternoon. And so, people had 10,000 steps. It could have been 20. It could have been 25.
Well, I think this year's winner was 16,000 steps. And I was looking at that and I said, man, what a possible way to really have, because, part of what she does, not only eliminating the double step problem of having to go from one building to the next, to the back to the next, is to schedule not only in one building, but with the people that matter for your group. Right. And if anybody does, I'm gonna just say this now. Mike Bennett says that his guys were the Avengers. I don't know if we're naming all the other teams, but he said that they were the Avengers. They're walking around, and so you have your group leaders. Some of these group leaders, like Michael Wall, Michael Bennett, yourself was included in that. We have some other people that have done it a long time. I think Trent Agan is one of 3 or 4 that have done it for so many years, that we actually have to call it out and recognize that they are championing this for decades and doing a great job. So she puts this hodgepodge, this crazy puzzle together that kind of works seamlessly in this cog. So then we go see our legislative bodies. What happens when we finally have that meeting, right? So there's a breakdown. And just to give you guys concept of what's going on, as we get together the night before, we have kind of like a meetup and a talking, and everybody gets to see each other and kind of meet their teams in the morning. Well, this time we had two speakers in the morning. So who were they? How did they matter in what's going on with Washington D.C. and the LegCon, and why did they come up to speak to us?
Well, we try to do something in the morning just to set the stage. Last year we had a chief of staff from a congresswoman's office to kind of talk about how to do the meetings and why that they were important, and no matter who you were talking to, of what your kind of goal was and how to present it. This year we were, there were a few things kind of going on in DC, and so we tried to, and I think it's always good to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, when you're there. And so we were fortunate to have a legislative aide from Speaker Johnson's office to come in, and he really spent some time talking about the House priorities, particularly the tax bill that they seem to be really focusing on. They had a big vote on that, or were supposed to that day. I think it got pushed, but eventually it did pass. We also had a lobbyist or the director of legal or legislative affairs from the National Retail Federation to come in and talk about tariffs. And he came in. It was kind of a prescient moment because he came at that time. This was at 8:00 in the morning on Wednesday, April 9th. He said, here's what's going to happen. And there's going to be a Congo line going to the president saying, hey, this can't be maintained. I was with the group, and about 12 o'clock, someone's phone started beeping, and they looked at it and saw the stock market had basically did this. And I think it gained about 4,000 points that just within a few minutes.
It was crazy because you've got so many people on one side saying one thing and the other people saying the other. And the truth is this: it's like playing the lotto. You don't know who's going to win. You don't know how the turnout's going to be. You just got to kind of stick to what you know. Hopefully, you pick the right side of everything. Whether you pick certain stocks, you pick to buy, sell, whatever it is, and go from there. I mean, what else are you going to do? But yeah, so we have these two people that come in. And so one of them was from the Republican side, and then so the speaker that came in secondly, is he a lobbyist for the Democratic side?
He actually works for the National Retail Federation, so
it's
similar
not,
association.
It's not one way or the other.
Yeah, so similar association like us. He's doing what we do for advocating on retailers on behalf of retail stores, and so that similar kind of idea or needs, concerns that they have that we do. And so it was good to have him kind of come in and really get in the weeds on the tariff issue for us, because that was the topic of the day, I think. It's a lot of his minds.
Everybody was like listening, they got the blinders on. Like, I need to pay attention to what's going on here. Those two really kind of set it off in the morning, which was great because I think you're right. I got everybody into that like legal mode. Like, hey, I'm not at the White House yet, but you know what? This is what we're here for. This is the stuff that we want to hear about, because then as we go see our legislators, it gives us some talking points besides, hey, we're rent to own and we're okay. It's one of those things like we are okay, but there are things that we always worry about and things that we should talk about. And if anything happens, please let us know. It's part of what we do as watching everything. And it's a great thing to have to come back to every single year, and then have these new people a part of this as the time rolls on, and these new members. And when I say new members, everybody, I want you to understand, just because you're a new member doesn't mean you're new to rent to own. I've seen some new members that came in that have been a rent to own for years, which was amazing to see, because, I did rent to own for a long while before I even knew that half of this existed. And then it took even a little bit longer to be a part of it. But now that I am, I couldn't imagine not doing it. I couldn't imagine not being a part of it, because, everybody wears a different shirt, but we're all doing the same thing. And so we've got to advocate together as far as legally to make sure that our industry is thriving and stays good. And then we'll go back to competing later on, right? And then we got, I'm going to tell you right now, we got the Avengers on one side, and then I hear Mr. Superman himself, Michael Wall from Aaron's, the director of operations, right? No, what is he? The director of affairs, corporate affairs. And he's there, and everybody, I can't imagine anybody not, I think everybody on his team, and even some people not on his team, were just like super happy that he was there, because not only did he help everybody in those moments where, hey, you might be new, don't worry about it, I will help you out and show you. But he did it with such flair and panache. It was like this is his deal. This is his, like, I think he just clocked in on a normal day. Hey, I'm at the White House. This is this is like what I do for lunch. Like he just did it so well, and kind of helped guide these people. Talking about new people, whether they've been in the business, not been in the business, there's a fellows program. Now, this is something that is this new to what LegCon is doing? Because I don't remember hearing about it before.
Yeah. So this is something we started last year. And I give my case the credit for this because we're, as a vendor member, this is to come to LegCon, we require sponsorship. It's, just to kind of control ratio and numbers. And it's an important and a good way to really support the industry through this important effort. And so we're talking to Mike, Jen Truck and I about sponsorship opportunities for LegCon. And Ashley is a champion for the industry. They always are a top line sponsor for everything. And Mike kind of came in and said, well, here's something that I'd like to do. I'd like to bring in people that have never been before. And, they'll probably be our customers because we sell to pretty much everyone. And then that we can expose them to it and get, have them trained, and then hopefully they come back or they get involved on the state level or in some way. And so we kind of took that idea and really ran with it. Ashley chipped in for a few last year. I think they did 5 or 7, a lot. So we took that idea and that concept of, okay, we're going to fund the hotel and some travel around DC. You just got to get to Washington. The qualifications are basically you got to be a first timer in the rent-own industry, working full-time for a store.
That's not many boxes. That's
That's not, and that's the thing. And so it's really it's available out there. You just have to have the support of your supervisor to sign off for you to do it. So we had a few state associations that chipped in and said, okay, we'll put in for a scholarship or 2 here, or fellowship. And so we had 10 last year. And that was a great start. I think really the idea of the program is to bring new people in. So you've got people who have never been to DC before. I think you hit on it. It's an eye-opening experience. You kind of, if you're in your store every day, if you're kind of new to the industry, or even if you've been in the industry, but you haven't gotten this exposure to a RTO world or a meeting of the minds or a legislative conference, you don't really understand, I think, conceptually how big and important this industry is. And what this program does is it's an enabler for that. It provides a pathway to be able to go to DC, see what we do up there. But second, too, we have a lot, and you mentioned this, we've got a lot of people that have been doing this for a long time. We've got a couple of guys that have been, Shannon Strunk and Larry Carrico, I think, are tied at 27.
Can you imagine that?
31 years. That? They missed 4. So that's incredible. But we've got a lot of guys that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 plus years. And that's a lot of experience. I mean, you mentioned Michael. I like walking around with Michael because he knows which stairways to take and how to get which entrance to go in when the security line's too long. So he's a great person to have. But we've got all these guys that have been doing this for a long time that they know how to talk to the legislators. They know how to talk to the aides. They know how to promote the industry and kind of it's just, I know it's been a beneficial, and for me to be sitting down to go to a meeting with Larry, to go to a meeting with Michael, with these experienced guys, and hear how that they characterize and talk about RTO, how they talk about the transaction. And I believe Larry, he talked about this at the debrief meeting that night, but he goes in and tells people, we provide cold milk. We provide a good night's sleep. We just that total reframing of we don't just do rent refrigerators. We give you cold milk. We don't rent a mattress. We give you a good night's sleep to get you energized, refreshed, to be able to go back and do what you do today. And that kind of reframing, that's huge. I mean, just from from our perspective, from hearing, we learn from each other, and we've got so much knowledge and just institutional knowledge with this group of guys and women that have been doing this for a long time. And so to bring that back together, the fellowship program is a way to introduce people that haven't done this before to this institutional knowledge that we have with this experience. And so someone can go in and they can go into a meeting with a Michael Bennett or a Michael Wall or Shannon Strunk or Larry Carrico or Trent Hagan and hear them talk about it. That then will carry over for the future. And so this is a sustainability project because people retire, they sell their businesses. There's a limit on how many more times that a lot of our experienced guys will be coming, and we've got to grow our next generation. So when we're up there 40 years from now, they can tell the story of I went around with Larry Carrico and heard him tell the story. I went around with David and heard him tell the story this way. And so that's what we're trying to do with this fellowship program. And I think it's a great way to accomplish a number of goals. And so I'll tell you this: we had 10 fellows last year, we had 15 this year, so we grew it. I'm really hoping we're going to grow it to 20 next year. But of the 10 we had last year, and this kind of shows you I think we've got traction with this. We had 5 that came back, so half of our class came back in 25.
Here we go.
If we can replicate even a portion of that going forward, that is that's what helps us grow from 78 to 88 to 100, and that's what keeps us at 100 people going back each year to do this. Because it's important. I mean, this is what we're here for, and this is what just a core part of keeping the industry safe and advocating for it, and really telling the good things about rent to own to the people that make the laws and the regulations that control it. So,
let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing, and let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If it keeps on going this way, Lisa's going to need an assistant pretty soon. And the fellowship program is a great way because it sounds like almost like an apprenticeship program. That's, if I wanted to be somebody in, an industry like, let's say plumbing, I've got to stand behind somebody who's done it for a while. I've got to learn. It's easy to say, these are the book ways how to do it. You connect the pipe, you bend it over. That's the way it is. And then you go out in the real world and you're going to have a master plumber go, yeah, hold on. We've got to do, there's a way to do this. We don't want the house to flood. Okay. So, going out with these experienced people who have decades of time frame. And not only that, their day-to-day is not our day-to-day. Our day-to-day is not their day-to-day. So they take these, not only the years that they've been to LegCon, but they take their day-to-day, which are experiences that we might not have, or they're experiences that we don't know about. And we get to all pool that together into a conversation. And I have definitely seen some lights go off. Being there 2 years, I've seen people that last year were kind of very timid on the inside. Yeah, they said stuff, but kind of sat back a little bit to becoming, hey, let me tell you about my industry. And it's so different to hear them talk that way because last year they were all like, oh my God, I'm in some legislator's office, I wear CNN stands when they have the camera. And now we're here actually on the other side of it, really doing the work that needs to get done to represent the industry in a certain way. And so they start coming out of that shell. And that fellowship program of being able to be with those guys that have done it for years and years and put it in a certain way and say things a certain way and kind of, it goes twofold. It's not only being able to experience them and then being able to guide you, but also, every once in a while you've got to expect that there's going to be a legislator to say something that, ask you a question, going to put it in a different way. I'm going to put this in a different light and tell you, how does this really blatantly affect my constituents in a good way? I hear that there's this, or I hear that there's that. And not only having somebody there with a little experience can say, well, this is why, this is what's going on. With always one, there comes another. This is where it comes from, and this is how it goes. And there's, the lifetime reinstatement and all this stuff. So, letting them know it's you're going to hear what you hear on certain social medias, TikTok, whatever. But to sit down in front of the people that actually do it every day, let me explain to you how it works. Like you said, being able to frame it in that other way and say, it's not just the product we sell; it's the experience at home that you have with your family that makes the difference. And this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. This is how we, is how we became the industry that we've become. And as I've been able to grow in the industry, I hear and see all these things from, like, let's say APRO started LegCon 31 years ago. There's a lot of things that are older than that, right? You got the tire industry that's older than that. You got the furniture industry that's older than that. You've got a lot of things that are, but we're not that old. And we have the people that, you say 31 years and somebody like Carrico's been there for 27 of them. Well, he's almost been there since the beginning. We've got people like Ed Wynn who, thankfully he's still a resource, but, started this thing in the beginning, and we still have the ability to really kind of look at, follow, talk to, and experience this with the pioneers that have really helped get us to where we are. And it's, I love the fellowship program. I love the fellows program. I think it's a great idea. I was talking to, a couple of people, and to hear that it was their first time. And here I am. I'm thinking I'm a new kid on the block. There's about 4 new kids on the block, and we're going to start our group. No, it was more. And when I was like, you've really never been? No, I've never been. And the program really reaches into those small areas of rent-to-own and say, hey, you want to come out here? You want to try this out? You want to be a part of this? I love the idea. Mike, if you're listening, we appreciate it. We think you did a great job here, but we are going to take it a run. So the amount of people went up. When they come in and you have these multi-decade type people, so Lisa tries to divide them up with, we're trying to get the most experience with a couple of non-experienced in there so they can kind of follow everybody around. And then at the end of the day, you talked about the debrief. So we're there, we're talking to them, we get through the day, we can finally let our hair down. Oh my God, I talked to this person. I saw, this person in the hallway and that, because I think this year we spotted two legislators that are always on TV and we managed to see them. So then we get to the debrief dinner. How important is that? What's the guidance behind this debrief dinner, and how does it get everybody back together? What is the point of that?
It's the bookend for the conference. We'll do the reception the night before. We'll do the breakfast, and that's kind of the send off. And then, it's really we always try to find somewhere unique. Last year we were at the Daughters of American Revolution, which was really cool old, hollow marble.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Ellipse. This year we were out at top of the town, which is it's an event function space in Arlington. So, but it has the complete panoramic view of the entire city, all the monuments. You can see everything from the windows and the rooftop open bar that they've got up there. So it's just an incredible thing. One, to kind of step back. You've had a long day. It's kind of relax and to network and to talk to everyone about their day. We started doing something last year that was kind of an open mic, and we continued it this year, where it was we've did like prompts where, okay, I advocate for this industry because I come to LegCon because and to allow really everyone to kind of tell their story. That's the fundamental basic thing of all of this, of all of advocacy. If you're doing it right, it's storytelling. And that's why I like bringing a fellow in that can tell their story. I was in one meeting with one of our fellows, and she told her story about how that she became got a job in rent to own, and then became a regional manager. And I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm looking around. I'm not crying. You're crying, um, and that's what's powerful, and that's what's memorable for this. We give you all this data. Here's our industry health. We rent to own. 1 out of every 30 families is uses the rent to own transaction. It's a $12 billion industry. We throw all this stuff out. We've got papers. We have leave behinds. We do all of that stuff. But it's that storytelling during those meetings that's what really resonates and what's memorable. And then this is kind of our opportunity to do that, a bit of that storytelling with each other, and to share that. Like, here's why I come to LegCon. I mean, it's an ask. I mean, I recognize that we're asking you to take time out of your schedule midweek to come to Washington, D.C. to do this, to go through that expense, give up your time away from your business, away from your family, and to do that. It's an ask. And so the debrief dinner really, I think, brings it all together. That's the tie-in. And so we started doing this kind of open mic, and we wanted to try to get everyone, at least a representative from each team, that could kind of come up and share a little bit, something that happened during the day that was memorable or impactful, or something that, of real significance. And, and it can be, it's intended to be. I mean, it can be emotional. I mean, just listening to it, but I think the takeaway, if you sit through, to me, that's my favorite. I mean, all of this is great. That's the highlight of the whole thing, is hearing everyone's story of their day, and then really even deeper for their story of why they come up and advocate for the industry. And you hear some really powerful things with that. And I think that just in terms of understanding how big this industry is and how important it is and how it touches so many lives, and just from the consumers to the employees to our vendor suppliers to owners, all just across the whole spectrum. It's the capstone for the event. Yeah.
Well, talking about different things, and I want to kind of encapsulate some of the reasons why we go, because obviously, if nobody understands why we go, it's fun to say. It's a lot harder to get them to understand. This is why. So, a couple of things that came up last year was, there was talk that a little bit of the CFPB and kind of maybe wanting to look to, put RTO in a different area, but we're not credit based. So we have to have the advocacy there to say, let me re-educate some of the people who really don't know about, rent to own, and say, this is not a credit transaction. And the laws of the CFPB and how they regulate it will drastically affect this $11-12 billion industry. And there's a lot of people that are affected by that. Not only the customers that use us every day, but the employees and the owners that we have. I mean, your $12 billion isn't small. And I know every time we talk about, we're sending somebody this or we're spending that, we're talking about numbers that people will never see in their lifetime. And this is something that's shared with every single store owner, every single employee, every single person that drives a truck to owning the business. It affects all of us. So in those type of situations, it's super important. Right now, there's a bill in New York, and I think we're kind of jockeying back and forth. But in that state, it's important to that state. And now the New York Rental Dealers Association with Jeff Smith as president, I know yourself is gone, and it seems like we're getting some headway in that. Hopefully it works out for the betterment of everything. But, these things happen all the time where something's going on in the world. So I should say in our four walls of the United States of America, and we have to be there. APRO has to be there to kind of do it. And if you think it doesn't come up, it does. So things like that, and things like New York, and things like the CFPB and how they relate to our transactions, maybe putting us in a different tax situation. Well, it does affect us. So if you think that we just go up there and say hi, it's not really that, but it's great to say, hey, we are doing well. We're highly regulated. Things are working out. And there's these small things too. If we can keep an eye out for them, please let us know so that we can advocate on our behalf in those areas and in those arenas. Just to kind of say, how is New York going? Is it, are we past this, or we still got a little bit to go?
New York's, that's a great example, all right, of why this is important. Because for years, APRO and the industry advocated for a federal bill to classify the rent-to-own transaction as a lease. Pure and simple, it's lease, not credit sale. Along with that, while that effort went on for really the better part of, I think, 25, 30 years, until it was kind of abandoned prior to Dodd-Frank in early mid-2000s. In parallel to that was the state laws being passed. And so we've got 46 state statutes that were passed really beginning. New York's a great example. 1986, I believe, the New York statute was passed. It was amended in 2009. And so we've got lots of amendments. If there's an issue with the transaction, with the disclosures, with the timings, any of these obligations, it gets addressed in the statute. And that is what we go to DC to say, leave us alone. We're regulated on the state level, and it works well. And if we have an issue and a local issue, we can work with that legislator on addressing what the requirements are on the statute, rather than coming in with kind of this, heavy-handed approach of the CFPB being the federal regulator. I mean, we're regulated by the FTC on that federal level. That works. That's the way it has been for decades. And so that's kind of the argument on the CFPB is we're not credit, and therefore we don't need to be characterized as credit. So what's happened in New York is really what we're trying to prevent with all of these legislative days. What we're trying to prevent in DC is if we're not up there telling our story, someone's going to tell it for us. And that's kind of what's happened in New York. You've got consumer groups that have told our story for us. They've lumped us in with 5 other relatively new fintech modern products that have only existed for really the better part of the past 5, 7, 10 years. Not a rent-to-own transaction that's been around for, I think Aaron's is celebrating their 70th anniversary. APRO's been around since 1980. Yeah. This is established. We've got state laws that can back that up. And so when we were in New York, there were several lobbying teams working. I was up there with Jeff and the New York Rental Dealers Association back at the beginning of February. And that was our message of, hey, we passed this law in 1986. We worked with y'all to amend it in 2009. If there's a problem with it, let's talk. But you're completely eviscerating it. And I don't think anybody will know how this thing will work if you pass this new one that disregards almost 40 years of history and precedent. Yeah.
Of stable regulation.
That's kind of it. And then you've also got the other issue too, is like we're picking our poison in a lot of ways. We don't want to be regulated at the federal level. And there are a lot of reasons we don't. And I know Ed, I think he was on your podcast recently. He went through a lot of some of those reasons we don't, but it's a hydra. CFPB has been kneecapped right now with some of the things going on with the new administration, but that just means there are 50 other opportunities for that cause to be taken up. And I think we saw that during the first Trump administration. We're going to see it in the second Trump administration. New York, in addition to the bill we're fighting up there, has just introduced it's kind of a mini CFPB bill that adds the element of abusive to the UDAP, the UDAP enforcement of the Attorney General's office. So you've got kind of an expansion of what that they can do, which is what the CFPB was doing. We'll see that in other states. That expertise and all of those personnel that work for the CFPB aren't going to quit their jobs. They're going to find somewhere to go. And So, that means that we've got to fight even harder on these state levels. And so that's what's going on in New York. That bill, we had a bill introduced last March. It was pending in both houses. Basically, the clock ran out when they adjourned at the beginning of June. We're in the same situation this year. Identical bills were introduced in both houses there. We're now they've been really focused on their budget. So that's really taken the majority of the past 2.5 months plus of their legislative time. And so I think things are about to get very busy over the course of the next 6 weeks. And so New York, I'm going back up there with Jeff and the team and Michael Wall here in a couple weeks to continue those conversations. And we've been having those conversations since literally ongoing consistently since this time last year. And so we've got to tell our story and why that we are the odd man out of this. And, and whenever you've got these arguments of, okay, we've got a statute, these other ones don't, we're not credit, these other ones are, that resonates a lot better. And it's it's a lot easier too whenever you've established those relationships and you become that resource, which is what really a lot of what the strategy in DC and the other legislative days that we're doing. It's preemptive, so we're not having to react and really mobilize, which is what's happening in New York right now of making new friends.
Now, in a layman's term sort of way, do we get lumped in because we take regular payments just like a credit card, but not necessarily the same way, and they kind of just scooped it all in one salad and they're going to regulate this, and they don't really understand what's going on? Or were we literally cherry picked out because to them it seems like a credit transaction, even though it's been defined as not?
I don't think it's either of those. I think in New York we were lumped in by some consumer groups that were, you've got products that aren't regulated. Then they're really where we were in the 80s, and we chose to be regulated. Okay, here's how we want to be regulated like this. We'll agree to these disclosures. We'll agree to a rental agreement that says this. We'll agree to doing these things during the terms of the lease and post lease. And that was, we chose that and we pushed it. And so this is how we wanted to be regulated in exchange for not being characterized as a credit transaction and being subject to all these other regulations. What's happening there is you've got new products that they're round pegs trying to be fit, or square pegs fitting around holes, however you want to characterize it, but they don't have that. You've got to build things like earned wage access, which is like payday, but it's not exactly payday loans. You've got buy now, pay later, which didn't exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
That's gotten very big.
So, but they don't have a regulatory scheme. They've got, they're trying to be fit in. Okay, well, this looks like a loan, so we're going to throw you under the lending credit provisions or regulations here. And so they're kind of where we were, just kind of trying to figure out where they belong. This is a sledgehammer of like, okay, we're going to do all of this without really addressing some of these other things on it as well. Rent to own, I guess. Yeah. So this concern, we still don't like those guys either. So we're going to throw them into it. I mean, literally the bill is being, the code name or the moniker, I guess, that's been given for the one in New York is in loan ELSA, in loan shark act. Okay, great. End it. I mean, that sounds, I think we would all agree that no one should be out loan sharking and doing that. But
agreed.
What does that have to do with us? Nothing.
It won't affect the business at all. Go ahead and take care of it. Do what it got to do.
But if we're not up there talking about it,
and
the other our other members who have lobbying teams and groups, if we're not up there saying that, like, yeah, sure, rent to own sounds like any of these other things. I mean, that's kind of the perception. And so, I mean, that is the constant battle that we are fighting. And it may seem like, okay, nothing's going on in DC, but we are setting, if we're not harvesting, we're planting seeds. And it is a cycle, and we've got to be continuously on this at all times, persistently, consistently. It is not something that you can just do reactionary and hope to have that be an effective strategy and hope to be successful with it.
Well, Charles, I got a question. Are we going to see you on some kind of C-SPAN or something like that? Where you're going to be in front of a congressional hearing, the CEO of APRO, we have you here, and you're going to be sitting in front of a couple senators, and they're going to be like, "Let me tell you."
I would do it, but that's kind of like I'm being
on your team.
Never. I mean, I was a litigator for my beginning of my career, and you never want to be in court in that situation.
Yeah, right. Avoid at all costs. So there's, the importance is there. The tradition is there. The experience and the fellows is there. And we're bringing all this together. And it's great to hear that out of COVID, we're hitting some great numbers. We're expanding year after year. If you guys want to be a part of the fellow program, please let us know. Reach out to APRO. It's rtohq.org. And you can figure out how to do the fellows program from there. At the time next year, we will have a link to from our website at the rtoshowpodcast.com so that you can find it anywhere you can. But one last question I wanted to ask is, in your opinion, what was something different that happened this year that stood out? Something that you could say, every year there's always that one thing that happens or two things that happens. What's something that happened with Charles or with the group or whatever that you say, this was unique to this year? This was different.
It's always different. No matter what time you go up there, it's just different. I would say, and I mean, just going back to the fellow thing. I mean, that being up there, we like I said, we do a recognition at the end of them. We recognize the people that have been there for, here's our 5+ year category. Here's our 10+ year. Here's our 15. We have a lot of people. We actually started, they used to do this a long time ago, but we brought it back last year where if you've been there for 5+ years, you get a certain pin, like a lapel pin. They're nice, big, shiny. We started doing that to kind of recognize people. But there's an element of kind of when you go in and you do the same meetings with the messaging is you get kind of in a routine and rhythm with that messaging. And so really kind of being in the room in some of the meetings with the fellows and particularly with the ones, it's intimidating to go up there. If you've never done this, I mean, we try to do everything. We do a training program. We do a pre-conference webinar. We do the training at breakfast. We really try to put people with teams of experienced people, but it's still an intimidating thing to go through up to one of those buildings. You're standing beside the Capitol, you go in through security and you're in the hallways and you're passing these people you see on CNN or Fox or C-SPAN or whatever. You're seeing these people, you're seeing the podiums, you're seeing all this stuff. I mean, it's an intimidating atmosphere for if you, particularly if you haven't done it much. And so really kind of being in the room with some of these fellows that were not intimidated for whatever reason to speak and to tell. And it's kind of where that thing of that, what I said with storytelling and be able to tell that story, that's what resonates when you're meeting with, your congresswomen that are representing your district, and to be able to kind of go and say, well, I'm from this small town, or I'm from here, and I went to this high school, and I, know these people, and this is how I got into rent to own. And we service the people in this area of this town. That kind of thing is powerful, and that resonates. And so, yeah, there was, and I joked about that. I literally was tearing up listening to one of these. And it's just an incredible story, and to hear that. And that's not, this is a unique atmosphere and opportunity to share that. We don't, this isn't kind of something we would do at RTO World or at a state association meeting. It's a unique situation, scenario specific thing to be able to kind of tell that. And so, yeah, that was probably the highlight. I think I'll remember, some of these just that happened this year for a long time. And and I've, for me, it's a learning experience for me. I've been doing this for a while, not only with APRO, but with other associations doing legislative days and doing these type of meetings. And, I learn something new every time, and ways to polish the approach and new ideas to share and the group and that thing.
I love that polish the approach. That's a great way to put it, because it does need polishing. I tell you, one of the most unique things that I noticed this time around was, number one, was the stories. The stories did hit home, and to hear that, you have people that become customers, that become employees, that become advocates for the industry. That's a win. That's a win all the way around. But one of the other things that stuck out to me that was really unique this year was there was probably 3 to 4 meetings that we had where we came in and we started talking. We said, listen, there really isn't any pressing issue right now, but we wanted to, and they just do what? Like, I just got through with like 45 minutes of getting somebody just chewing on my ear about what's going on here and let's fix this. And oh my God, what are you doing? Because we mentioned, you mentioned it before. It's a new administration. And there's a little bit of shaking of the tree, and going, hey, we're going to do it a little bit differently than it has been done in the last 4 years. And, we're going to do it this way as opposed to that way. And we're going to try new things. And so they've had those people like, hey, wait a minute, we're upsetting the apple cart. I'm going to tell you why this is good or bad for me or whatever. And then we come in and they get 15 minutes of, wait a minute, wait, you're not yelling at me. You're not telling me that we're, whatever. We're having a civil conversation about an industry that I might not know that much about. And it was great to just how it went along. I was so shocked of how appreciative they were for us to be preemptive versus on the other side of it. To say, hey, oh my God, we have this big problem. We need your help. We need you to do this. We need you to do that. And it was like, oh, wait a minute, I can sit here and actually listen to you, what you have to say without putting on a defense. And, like, I can't answer that. I can't say this. And we had some really good conversation. I think we had some eye-opening conversations. And for me, that was a really unique part of LegCon, doing this, making sure that I can say to the people that are around me, I've done what I can for this industry, and I'm going to keep on doing it as much as I humanly can. It's only my second year, guys, so I am not experienced by any means, but hopefully one day, besides all the steps that I have, I will be coaching and mentoring maybe somebody else in the far future, but we'll see how that goes. Charles, I'm so glad that you got to be here. I wish Edwin would have been here this year. He was on the podcast. He's always so full of knowledge. I love talking to Ed. He's so good at it. But, LegCon 2025 was an absolute success. 88 people. Fellows is growing. We want to break the 3-digit mark, and that means we need you to hit us up. So April of next year.
We've got bids for hotels right now. So I think we may have that lined up.
That's it. We're putting a marker on this timestamp. So if you guys want to be a part of it, keep on watching, following us, and following what's going on. Again, go to RTOHQ next year. You can even start it. I think we start off at the end of January or February when we start getting the registrations together. That's a great time for you to figure out what's going on. And if you can make it, and I promise you, if you tell your boss, hey, listen, I'm advocating so that we can keep this open, I guarantee you they're going to give you a couple of days off. Not only that, Washington, D.C. is so full of history. I will tell you this. I did stay a little bit longer. I went for LegCon. I stayed for DC. I got to see the Constitution. I got to see the Bill of Rights. I mean, there's so much going on. There's all the Smithsonians where you can see all of our culture, all of our history. There's so much. There's Arlington National Cemetery. And if you ever want to do something crazy, if you ever get a group of people together or whatever, the top of the town was amazing. Those views, Charles will tell you, they were great. They were good in the daytime. They were even better at night when everything was lit up and you've got the backgrounds, you've got the Washington Monument. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, if you guys have any questions, always reach out to me. It's Pete at the RTOshowpodcast.com. Always feel free to hit us in DMs on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on YouTube now. Make sure you subscribe. And this is what we do, guys. This is how we make the industry work. Charles Smitherman from APRO. We are so happy that you got to be here. And I'm going to tell you guys, as always, get your collections low.
Thanks,
Get
Pete.
your sales high.